Hi computer scientists, Mr. Stafford here, and today I'm going to be showing you Unit 2, Lesson 10, Displaying Object Information. So the prompt that we have is to run the code and say what we notice about the output of the program. So looking at our code, we've got two objects that have been declared and initialized. We have a dessert object called muffin and a dessert object called pudding, and we are printing out muffin and pudding. So when we run this program, what we're receiving in the printout is dessert at 315F439. And then the second printout is dessert at, and then another string of numbers and letters. So what we're actually printing out here is the location in memory for the muffin and the pudding object. The object superclass in Java has a pre-built toString method for us, and this is what gets printed out. The address in memory gets printed out for us with that default toString method. And today we're going to be learning about writing toString methods. So I'll finish this. The prompt now says import dessert.java from our backpack. So we go to backpack, tick dessert, click import. And it asks us to write a toString method which returns a string representing a dessert object in the following format. So we want flavor equals tangerine in quotation marks with a comma, quantity equals 4, price equals $4.50. Now you may recall we have done something similar to this with our print info method. A toString is a little bit different. So what we're going to write is our toString method. It's got to be public. It returns a string, and it's toString. We are overriding the toString method from the object superclass. So we say public string toString, open and close parentheses, open curly brace, and what I'm going to do to save a little bit of time is we already have this print info, which is pretty close to what they're asking us to do over here. So I'm going to copy what's inside the system.out.println, and since we're returning a string, we got to use the return keyword. And we have flavor plus flavor, but keep in mind we want to have the flavor, so in the example it says tangerine in quotation marks. So we need to use an escape sequence, which is the backslash, put a quotation mark there. And then after flavor, I need to use a backslash and put a quotation mark. Notice it automatically puts 2 quotation marks for me right there, so I got to get rid of one of them. Okay, so then it says refactor the print info method to use your toString. I'm going to run my program just for a second and see if I've got anything out of order, and it looks like I do. I've forgotten my semicolon at the very end. So I'm going to rerun it, see how we're doing. And it said that the compilation is successful. Okay, very good. So what we're wanting to do is refactor the print info method. And you'll keep in mind that I copied and pasted what was in the print info to put into the toString. Now it's best practice just to use the toString to return a string. And if I have this print info method, I'm just going to call my toString method from within the class. So I put toString and those 2 parentheses to let it know that it's a method. I ran it again just to make sure that we're okay. It says in the myfoodtruck.java, create a dessert object. So I'm going back to myfoodtruck, create a dessert object, and print the values of its instance variables. So I'm going to say dessert cake is equal to new dessert. Flavor is going to be chocolate. Quantity is going to be 1. Price is going to be $4.99. And what other parameters do I need? I think it's just flavor, quantity, and price. Okay. and we need to print the values of the instance variables. So print the object using system.out.println. So I'm going to say system.out.println, and I'm going to print cake. And I'm going to show you two different ways to do this. So I'm going to run this thing, make sure that the format is as it's asking me. Flavor is chocolate in quotation marks, quantity and price. I think I've forgotten a couple of commas, which I have, so I'm going to go back to my toString. Flavor is also lowercase, just to make it consistent with what they're wanting. A comma after the quotation mark, a comma after quantity. Price is lowercase, and so is quantity. So I'll go ahead and run that one more time. I put my comma in the wrong spot. The comma should be after that second quotation mark, and I fixed it there. Okay, flavor is chocolate, quantity is 1, and then price is $4.99. Okay, and that looks like we're good. And I told you I was going to show you two different ways to print this out. So we do system.out.println cake, and so it's reading the toString method from the dessert class because we have overridden the toString method. We can also call the toString method by doing .toString, and the printout isn't going to look any different, but just to make sure that you're actually calling the toString method, you can state, like, I want it to print the toString method, and you'll see that the printout isn't any different. So we've completed level number 2, going on to level number 3. It says, sometimes software engineers use escape sequences to make their output easier for a human to read. Revise your toString method, so I'm going back to dessert class. Print each attribute on a new line, and then put quotes around the instance variable value for flavor. So we've already done the quotations around the instance variable flavor. Now all I need to do is make sure that each instance variable is on its new line. Print each attribute on its new line. So flavor, chocolate. I need to make a new line after my comma. So again, we need to use an escape sequence, and N is the escape, \n is the escape sequence for new line, and then after quantity, and that comma, here's quantity, I need to use \n, and let's run that, make sure that it's good. So I got flavor, quantity, and price. And you'll also notice I've got a little space right here, right in front of quantity and price. Which isn't exactly what they have here, and it just doesn't look that good. So I'm going to get rid of this space in front of quantity. So I have an escape sequence, quotation mark, comma, escape sequence, N, quantity, and then I'm going to do that same thing for price. Run this just to make sure that it looks good. And it does, flavor, quantity, and price. And now I'm going to flow on to the programming level 5. And it says import foodtruck.java from your backpack. So we go to backpack, foodtruck.java, import that. And it says in foodtruck, write a toString method which calls the toString method from dessert. Okay. We'll break that down. So inside of your food truck, the way that we make a food truck is we have an owner and a dessert. Okay. And we just wrote the toString method for dessert. So what we're wanting to do with the toString method for food truck, here's our print info, and we're going to base our toString method off of our print info, and we're going to start with public string toString, open and close parentheses, and I'm going to return. And again, I'm going to borrow this information. So I'm going to return. The owner is plus owner. And then I can go on a new line if I concatenate. If I concatenate, put that plus sign. And borrow the rest of it. And the food truck has But what I'm also going to do is a new line character. So the owner is, and print out whoever the owner is, create a new line, and so your escape sequence, that \n, needs to be in quotation marks, okay? And then the food truck has, and here's where I'm going to print out the Tostring method from dessert, okay? So in the food truck class, we have our dessert called new dessert. So I'm going to copy that. In the Tostring method, I'm going to say new dessert dot Tostring. And so this is going to call the Tostring method from the dessert class, okay? So it says instantiate dessert and food truck objects in myfoodtruck.java to test our output. So now what we're going to do is we're going to test this out in the myfoodtruck.java. It says print the object using print info. Oh, so this was from before, and I think I skipped that, but I'm going to go ahead and do that now. So I'm going to do system.out.println cake.printinfo. I will compare that with what I did on the previous lesson just to make sure that we're okay. So it looks like I've got error system.out.println cake.printinfo. I'm going to look at dessert, print info, oh, and it doesn't go into print statement. So let me tell you what this is saying. We couldn't compile your program, look for bugs, and try again. The error is that it's a void type to allow here. So this this print info isn't returning anything. So I'm trying to print something that is of a void return type. So I just need to get rid of that print line. So run that again, and I should have 2 of the print statements that say flavor chocolate, quantity 1, price is $4.99. And I'll show you another little trick. So I can get those separated in my console, system.out.println. If I make a print line and I don't put anything in it, that should create an extra space, which it does right there. Cool. So I can see that those are the same. I can also print an escape sequence. Either way, it works. Okay. So instantiate a food truck object. So I'm going to say food truck. Now we're on to this level. Food truck Sam equals new food truck, and the owner is going to be Sam. And I'm just going to feed it the cake dessert that we've already got made to save a little bit of time. Run, make sure that I've created a food truck. Okay. And I have not. Can't find the symbol. I need to capitalize the T in truck. Run it again. Okay. So that looks good now. What we want to do is print the food truck object using the system.out.println. And again, I'm going to do a system.out.println to create a space before I print out my food truck. So I'm going to do system.out.println sam.Tostring. And again, you could leave off the Tostring if you wanted. And I'll run this. And the owner is Sam. The food truck has flavor chocolate. Quantity is 1, and price is $4.99.